drone is observing Machina's residence, and she is still secure within, oblivious to the impending peril, while she contemplates her dinner menu. Someone activates the doorbell, and she proceeds to ascertain the visitor's identity. Just as she unlatches the door, she beholds the unpleasant visage of Marcus and instantly assaults him with her most potent magical incantation, propelling him from her dwelling. Marcus is completely unaffected by the onslaught, and he informs Machina that this is an inappropriate manner to welcome an old acquaintance. She emerges from the residence, clad in her demonic combat attire, and instructs Marcus to cease his charade because she is aware of his destructive intentions. She deactivates her familia and disconnects from the network before engaging Marcus. She conjures a magical spell at his feet, unleashing a mighty burst of magic, but he simply leaps aside and summons blood-forged blades to assail her. Machina counters by invoking magic projectiles, and their assaults neutralize each other. Marcus remarks that it appears they are equally powerful when abruptly Machina lunges at him through the haze and seizes his hand. Before he can respond, she affixes a spell to his wrist and then triggers it, severing his arm. However, he regenerates it nearly instantaneously and then conjures an enhanced version of his blood sword spells. He rains them down upon Machina, who employs a magical shield for protection. However, Marcus possesses additional stratagems, and he causes all the blood swords to erupt with a flick of his fingers. The entire vicinity is engulfed in the detonations, but Machina remains unscathed. She laments her lack of fire insurance and states that she will forward the bill for the damages to Igme. A voice advises her to dispatch it directly to the corporation's location, and then unexpectedly Marcus's assistant emerges from the smoke to assault Machina. Fortunately, Machina utilizes an illusionary charm to evade her blade because she anticipated that the timid Marcus would not arrive unaccompanied. She is poised to banish the assistant to oblivion when suddenly Marcus employs the unique capability of his familia and disrupts her spell. Machina is bewildered, and exploiting this opportunity, his assistant pierces her from behind and immobilizes her on the floor. Machina forfeits all her strength and is unable to even stir, and Marcus commends his assistant for her effectiveness. She reprimands him for his excessive levity and for not disabling Machina's familiar from the outset, and he retorts that he could not forego such an occasion. He then addresses Machina, who condemns him, but this repulsive deviant derives pleasure from it. She inquires about his actions, and he reveals that he simply deactivated her familia to render her impotent. Machina is incredulous because her familia is a self-sufficient type and was offline, so it should have been impervious to hacking. Marcus informs her that it would be unattainable for others, but he is the creator of the familia. He explains the recent experiment his enterprise is conducting to develop the advanced familia, and he merely employed a prototype to forcibly shut down her familia. He boisterously proclaims his invincibility through the power of technology, and Machina questions his motives. He divulges his ambition to become the true Demon Lord, but achieving this through forceful subjugation is too uncivilized. He states that all he requires is absolute dominion over information and technology, and the entire world will be under his control. He treads upon Machina, proclaiming his intention to become the ultimate Demon Lord, surpassing even Veltol in power, and she can only weep as he abducts her to be consigned to the immortal furnace. Soon, Veltol and Taka arrive at the scene, discovering only scorched remnants of the structure. The sole surviving item is a PS4 controller, which evokes memories of Veltol's shared experiences with Machina. Taka rouses him from his reverie and urges him to locate Machina before she is harmed. Veltol is uncertain how to proceed, and Taka advises him to entrust the task to her. She gestures towards a drone, explaining that they will utilize it to find her. She elaborates that numerous delivery drones operate within the city, and she can infiltrate their systems to retrieve recorded video footage. She commences hacking the drone company's servers and discovers images of the explosion resulting from magical assaults. Veltol had surmised as much, and then Taka locates a snapshot of Marcus approaching Machina's door and the assistant concealed downstairs. Taka transmits a sequence of pictures detailing the events, the final images depicting Marcus and his assistant escorting Machina to the restricted section of the IFA reactor. Veltol is consumed by fury and expresses his gratitude to Taka for her assistance as he departs for the reactor. She intercepts him, cautioning that venturing there would be perilous due to the numerous mechanical soldiers guarding the area. She suggests that if Veltol had reinforcements, his task would be simplified, and he recalls an individual capable of providing the necessary combat prowess. He immediately seeks out the hero Graham, who is no longer inclined to converse with him. However, Veltol suppresses his pride and implores him for assistance. Graham is astonished by this display, but listens to Veltol's account of the events. Veltol reiterates his plea for aid, but Graham enumerates his transgressions. He reminds Veltol that he and his immortal legion waged war relentlessly, causing countless fatalities. Yet now he is pathetically beseeching his nemesis. Graham questions whether this display of humility is sufficient to earn his cooperation after all he has done, and Veltol merely clenches his teeth. Graham inquires if he is prepared to disable the furnace and jeopardize the peace and prosperity of the entire city for a single woman, and Veltol abruptly rises, declaring that only the feeble make such a decision. He proclaims his intention to rescue Mashina and subsequently resolve the city's issues because it will eventually become his domain as the Demon Lord. His words resonate with Graham, who rises and admits that although he believed he had relinquished his heroic identity long ago, a spark still lingers within him. He descends the steps, clarifying that he is not assisting Veltol but a random woman who has been abducted because that is the hero's duty. He grasps Veltol's hand, expressing his disbelief that the hero and Demon Lord are collaborating. They soon arrive at an unremarkable section of the city because, according to Taka's data, a shortcut to the furnace exists there. She unlocks the door for them, but they discover the passage is configured like a dungeon, and navigating it will be time-consuming. Taka lacks the dungeon specifications, and Veltol's expertise lies in dungeon construction. However, Graham has conquered numerous dungeons throughout his career and utilizes the skill auto-mapping to instantaneously survey the entire dungeon magically and generate a miniature map. He informs the astonished Veltol that this is an original spell developed due to his weariness of exploring dungeons during his adventuring days. This irritates Veltol, who questions how he could create such a spell and undermine the efforts of dungeon designers. They engage in a heated dispute, and Taka, exasperated by their pointless bickering, silences them and instructs them to prioritize locating Mashina. Regardless, Graham's auto-mapping skill soon completes its task, producing a detailed map of the dungeon. He detects no traps or adversaries along the route and informs Veltol that they will take the most direct path. Meanwhile, Taka is engrossed in another project related to the information discovered at her client's house. She is apprehensive and doubts her ability to complete it before Veltol locates Mashina. She requests him to buy her some time, and he assures her of his complete confidence in her ability to succeed within the time frame. Soon, Veltol and Graham utilize an elevator to reach the immortal furnace, and due to the change in ether density, their communication with Taka is severed. Exploiting this opportunity, Graham initiates a heartfelt conversation with his former adversary. He observes that Veltol has become more formidable, and in response, Veltol inquires when he acquired sarcasm because he is currently at his weakest point. Graham clarifies that he is referring to strength of character because a weak individual would never beseech others to save their subordinates. He believes that Veltol has changed significantly since their last confrontation, and this transformation is positive. Soon, the elevator reaches its final destination, and as Veltol and Graham enter the furnace building, they encounter Marcus's assistant awaiting.